Alright, greetings one and all. Welcome to Midday in the Middle with Art4Truth. As you can see, I don't have any, if you ever seen me before, you can see the difference. I don't have my computer set up and microphone and all that. It's everything. I had a show last night and I have another one today, so everything is all put away or otherwise packed and stuff. So I figured I'd just do a bit of a straight up acoustic set today. Forgot my hat. And let's see. Jeans. Alright. That noise that you had just heard that you don't hear anymore was the sound of the food dehydrator. Got continuing to dry apples. So it really does feel weird not talking into a microphone for this, honestly. Perhaps some of you did not know this, but there was a time period in our history as humans that we did not have electricity. And that they still made music, if you can believe that. They used instruments that did not have electrical adaptations or amplifications. Not true. They had amplifications, they were just acoustic amplifications. The using of the woods or materials in order to amplify sound, but not through the means of electricity or technology. Music has always been, certainly I think, rooted in some sort of connection to, dare I say, spirituality, which is to say a larger intrinsic connection to consciousness in the universe beyond that which we can perceive physically or even quantify physically or scientifically. I will go out on a limb and say, I don't usually like to use superlatives, but science will never be able to fully quantify spirituality because it's something that is unquantifiable by anything. But spirituality itself, a conscious connection to it. It can come close. It might get 99.999999999%. There will always be that one thing, that one intrinsic property that that is elusive to technology, to science, or any type of empirical understanding. Music and art are bridges between our world and that of the spirit world, or spirituality. Music tends to, well, they both are social in a way. Music is more immediate, and that's not even true. Alright, music, the sounds of things, the beats, the rhythms, have kind of a direct pulse with us, because they also have a pulse like our body has a pulse. Our body has rhythms, motion, movement. So does music. You look at visual art. Visual art is a culmination of movement and motions to create something that is still, generally, yet moving in all kinds of these different ways that do connect us to consciousness and the spirit. Music is something that has this almost immediate value. A beat can get you going like this. Art's immediate value is something that comes from, you have to stare at it, you have to be in with it. Music, you can be doing any number of things. And hear it and feel it. Art requires more of your full attention. Visual art, for those who quibble over the terms, I think they're different. I think art's a larger encompassing energy that includes music, but in the way that we use the words, they're different. It's okay. An apple and an orange are both fruit. But they are different. Apple may be more universal. Again, I'm just speculating, I'm guessing, I should say. Apples can grow in warm climates and colder climates. Oranges, I don't think, grow in colder climates. Be something akin to that with art and music, as far as their accessibility and their particular larger social gravity. These are just ideas to explore. Back to music and art and the spirit. So we have so many examples of music. Start with music being intimately and deeply tied to our connections to spirituality, to God, to something beyond the veil. Has religious purposes, and don't confuse religion with spirituality. They are not necessarily the same. But religion has very, very extensively utilized music in just about every single religion that there is. Buddhist monks have music. Judaism incorporates music. Islam incorporates music. Christianity incorporates music. Hinduism incorporates music deeply into their spiritual practices. Both the prayer, the mantra, the verbal, as well as the musical, the instrument-based. Like with spirituality, there's a certain sense of evolution that comes with music, or can and should. I think that if we have an unevolving sense of spirituality, then it's completely contradictory to how it connects to real life, which is constantly evolving. If you maintain the exact same system of beliefs with the exact same dogma and doctrine that was believed 2,000-3,000 years ago, without any consideration to the changes that we have developed that have happened to us, no, it's like drinking water out of a stale, stagnant pond. You know, you gotta scrape the green gunk off and it's just gross. Why would you drink that water? But there's all kinds of other cleaner water. So there's an example that I'm going to bring up very specifically about a person who musically and artistically, as a matter of fact, evolved our sense of spirituality. This is an incredible person that lived in medieval Europe, medieval Germany. Around the 11th century, late 11th century or so. And this person was not even a man in a society that was largely, I don't want to say it wasn't patriarchal, but it definitely was oppressive towards women and didn't give them the same amount of opportunities, publicly, socially, artistically, politically, etc., as did men. The woman I'm referring to is a woman by the name of Hildegard von Bingen. Of Bingen, basically, Germany. Bingen, Germany. Hildegard, a woman that we should hold in the highest regard. She brought some earth, some dare I say witchcraft, much needed into Christianity, some alchemy, if you will. Musical and artistic alchemy, as well as literal, to a certain degree. She was deeply connected with the earth spirit, femininity, womanhood, Gaia, even. One of the things that she did to help with the perpetuation of spirituality, not just sociopolitically insofar as that allowed more women to be involved, and was a real kind of a cornerstone of that, although it took a long, long time, of course, as we all know. But she did some very important things for the art and music in and of themselves. And while they weren't necessarily appreciated or adapted in their own time, they certainly have been since. And have been a very, very big influence. People example, in the realm of visual arts. You can see it. You can see in Georgia O'Keeffe's paintings. There's no way she didn't know about Hildegard von Bingen. I mean, you know, just by looking at it. Very strong feminine physiology in some of her depictions or abstractions. Really surreal, interesting stuff. Awesome, awesome work. And her music also really was an evolutionary step in things, and also incorporated some of the elements of our natural world, some of the absolute elements of disconnecting with the physical part of the natural world. One of the things that she did was she wrote music that took a lot of breath, okay? A lot of the times the people, and mostly women, her nuns, would be singing this music and they would get short of breath and therefore lightheaded. She did this very purposefully because that lightheadedness, that disconnection, that altered state of consciousness that comes from lightheadedness, hold your breath for as long as you can and then let go, and then tell me that you're not receiving some sort of altered state. You can't, because you are. Just as much as your heart is beating if you're alive. It's just facts of life. So, that last one might even be arguable, but I'm not going to go there. So, the heightened, the shortness of breath and the getting lightheaded was very intentionally written into her music so that the people singing it would achieve more sublime states and therefore connect more to this deep spirituality of the music. Because spirituality in and of itself is an altered state. It's connecting to something just beyond our normal state of being as biological animals. These can be incorporated into waking states, into natural states. But there's no doubt about it that getting to that point where you're getting lightheaded or you're having visions, whether it's from food deprivation, lack of water, lack of sleep, the incorporation of certain herbs and fungal friends into your body chemistry, and so on and so forth. Extreme pain, if you want to go down that route. They're all things that can alter a state of consciousness and connect us greater to the sublime. Most of a great deal of our leaders, religious deities, if you will, if you want to use that word, did this. Deep meditation is an altered state of consciousness. Jesus, taking at least his existence as truth, spent 40 or whatever days in the desert, depending on your source. Food deprivation, water deprivation, sleep deprivation. That guy was tripping balls. Found himself in his true connection to his spirituality and his purpose therein. Although much to his chagrin, it has been absolutely bastardized and corrupted and turned into the opposite of what it was supposed to be. I haven't met a whole lot of Christians that really followed Christ. Not fully, at least. Maybe that's part of the point. We're all meant to grow and to learn and to strive, but Christianity, and I didn't mean to get into this, but yeah, Christianity has become more of a lip service to the institutions that govern it, rather than the actual practice of the tenets. Proselytized by Christ and practiced by Christ. So bastardized. See, that's one of the problems with spirituality when it becomes dogmatized and institutionalized. It becomes about the institution and not about the interpersonal journey of that spiritual connection to the higher existence of creation. Art, back to art and music, can help to connect us to that real essence of spirituality and disembodiment. Institutions can dictate what the art and music is. But your personal connection to it is something your own. And there's something intrinsic, no matter what is being dictated in a work of art. No matter what the subject matter is, there's something about the compositional value of it, about the, you know, that has a great gravity and a great power beyond its own subject matter. There's so much artwork being done today that, sure, it depicts people holding cell phones and, you know, flags on the moon or whatever you want to call it, or scary looking clowns with, you know, McDonald's creatures and they're, you know, whatever, you know, like art that makes political statements, art that makes social statements, but that art doesn't fucking evolve. It's still using the same techniques and the same compositional methods that were used by others, and therefore it loses some of that deep intrinsic spiritual value and quality, because one of the importances, I believe, is an eminent importance of our connection to art and music is its evolution and its sort of uniqueness, or at least a striving to something else beyond just using something that's already existed to re-describe things that exist now. And I advocate that everybody should be able to find their connection to art and music the way that they need to, whether it's through true imagination or rehashing the old ways with new memes. Everyone has the right to discover those things for themselves and use them whatever they, you know, how they will. The fact is, some people are moved deeply by the old memes or the old ways. So I'm not going to sit here and dictate how art needs to be, but I will do my best to propagate the idea of evolving art and trying to find your own methods that are not about the subject matter. When art is not about the subject matter, when it's about the movement of the forms, of the dots, of the strokes, of the notes, that's when it becomes deeper. That's when the gravity of it really begins to hit, and it begins to become more intrinsically connected to our deep self. Aliens might come down to outer space, come down from outer space. Well, they have. That's another story. And they can look at these paintings of these, you know, people on their cell phones, and it won't mean anything to them, per se. Because it's all completely reliant on some very specific, localized subject matter. But if they come down and look at something like this, okay, which is about moving beyond the picture plane, it has nothing to do with subject matter. The subject matter, which in this case is intangible. Whoops. developed by the method, the composition, the exploration of what third-dimensional painting can do. And an alien might look at that and see something. They might actually get curious. Because there's an attempt there to move beyond something that's already existed and to try to develop a relationship with new forms of understanding consciousness. And it just doesn't happen when it's a subject matter based, using the exact same methodology and techniques that have been used over and over again. And again, if that's your thing, more power to you. Good luck. And may you move many people with your subjects and with your paintings, but the true gravity of art comes from something beyond the subject matter. I believe that 100%, 100 billion%. It's one of the reasons abstract art is so unbelievably important. And it's so new. Now, Hildegard von Bingen, the aforementioned, did quite a bit to help with the propagation of abstraction and non-traditional methodologies, compositional modes to develop these works of art. And another person who in our, well, not our century now, I guess the 20th century, another woman, as it happens. In the time even before people like Kandinsky and Piet Mondrian were developing abstraction as modes of spirituality, very distinctly. Kandinsky was a spiritual artist who wrote a book called Regarding the Spiritual in Art. Mondrian was very, very deeply and intrinsically, I use that word a lot, a spiritualist. He believed that his artwork, the black line, red square, blue square, yellow square, was a way to connect to some of our deepest spiritual essences by minimizing the picture plane and therefore the world to its bare bones construction. Kaiser Malevich's suprematism, black on black, white on white, and so forth, similarly evocative of the spiritual. These are spiritual journeys, and there was an artist who preceded them by the name of Helma Klint. Helma Klint, and she started to really go beyond. She was a traditional painter, she was educated and professional artist, and she went beyond the scope of the landscape and the traditional means in order to develop these abstractions that she used to describe her connection to a larger sense of metaphysical spirituality. And in doing so, she began to develop a language of form by using to see the actual relationships that happen with certain colors, certain forms, certain shapes, in certain ways, in order to connect us to something beyond the veil, beyond our normal plane of existence. Absolutely phenomenal work. Everybody should check it out. Helma Klint. Art in and of itself is an evolution. We need to evolve our spirit connections to the spirituality. We need to evolve our connections. Geez, I'm getting lightheaded from all this non-microphone, loud talking here. To music. One of the criticisms that I've had of my exposure to quote-unquote popular music over the last 20 years or so is that it doesn't seem to have changed that much. I mean, if you look at popular music from the 50s compared to the 60s, there's a big change. 60s to the 70s, big change. 70s to the 80s, big change. And so on and so forth. But there just doesn't seem to be that much of a difference that's happened. Between stuff from 2000 and now. A few little vocal techniques, perhaps, or some things, but just as vacuous. Now, if you look beyond popular music, there's been all kinds of evolution, and all kinds of interesting things going on. Now, I'm not saying that every single thing has to be brand spanking new. I mean, what am I doing here? Playing guitar, it's different than most, that is traditionally played. number of ways. But there's always going to be an homage to the past. I mean, it's one of the great things that connects us. We go right down, we can evolve painting for another 172 billion years. If we're fortunate enough to still exist. But we'll still be connected to the caves. The caves of Lascaux, the caves that they found in South America, even older than Lascaux. And that's an important thing to realize, that our knowledge changes, our connection to the world and its information in the universe changes. I had this theory that painting was a European invention, and it's not. And I had to humble myself at one point when I learned that it wasn't, or probably wasn't, that the French didn't invent painting, as much as I wanted to believe. And be like, no, I have to evolve my thinking and my way of approaching art history, and therefore us, art in general, and our connection to it, humanity, consciousness. And when that doesn't happen with religion, with spirituality, we get stagnant. We believe lies because we have to, my family, God bless them, some of them are hardcore anti-science because they believe that it contradicts the Bible, and it doesn't. It just doesn't. And there are areas that there are parts of the Bible that are just deeply true in the larger non-scientific sense of our moral connection to reality. But if you look at religion and the Bible as a scientific textbook, then no, you're going to miss an enormous part of our existence as people and our connection to the universe. The Earth is not 6,000 fucking years old. And there's no fucking reason to have to go back to the Bible and count the generations back and say this is the scientific truth of the universe. You can still maintain the moral lessons which are timeless. And on that note, Yahweh was kind of an asshole. I'm going to piss people off with this, but you know what? That's what happens when you speak truth. If you look back at the way that the God of love supposedly treated his people, it's horrible. The plagues, the trolling, the death, the subservience. It's just not right. One of the cool things about Jesus is that he contradicted most of Yahweh's bullshit through acts of love, kindness, universal compassion, caring. But unfortunately, the institutions that did not like this because it ceases to give them control over people, like Yahweh, quote-unquote, has control. And so they institutionalized it and they dogmatized it and they basically made Jesus a warrior type of murderous thing, and it's not. It's not what it was supposed to be. Look at the Gnostics, not agnostics. There's a difference. Look at the Gnostic Christians who were systematically destroyed, genocides by the papacy because they challenged the papacy. They believed in a whole different interpretation of the Bible and of the God and of the Old Testament. Because there was the New Testament was only beginning to be written at the time. And there are Gnostic Gospels that have been systematically destroyed and otherwise buried. Some of them are coming to light. We don't allow for the evolution of our spirituality. And if we maintain dogmas and we're eventually going to deny people their own spirituality. Certain members of my family, like I mentioned, to stick to the old ways, they could view a Buddhist or a Hindu that dedicates their life to love, to service to people, a strong relationship with God. They don't consume foods or products that are poison to the earth. They don't support businesses or people or governments that are poison to the people and poison to the earth. They do everything possible to connect to a true essence of loving, conscious, harmonious spirituality. And they would look at them and be like, well, they're going to hell because they don't believe in my fucking book. Oh, God, fucking people. No, that's not okay. That's not what Jesus was about. That's not what spirituality is about. Man, I'm really getting uptight here. Okay, I gotta relax. because it's important to love everybody, including those who try to take love away. Maybe especially those who try to take love away. But we have to speak up against tyranny and oppression. And some of the greatest tyranny and oppression that exists is real religious tyranny and oppression. You cannot dictate or mandate a person's relationship to God. Whether they call it female, whether they call it male, whether they call it androgynous, whether they don't want to use the word God, whether they don't even acknowledge God but connect to some type of larger conscious spirituality. You cannot deny people's personal connection. Spirituality is personal. And therefore, through the personalness, we can connect collectively. But it cannot be done under mandates. It cannot be done with authoritarian rule. It just is not going to happen. So on that note, I really don't know how long I've been. I'm going to guess it's been about a half hour, maybe more, I don't know. But I'm going to call it good here. Without all my technology, I don't have my time, my phone is connected to my, or the clock is connected to my phone, which is being used to film this. So I'm only guessing here, but we're going to call this a Midday in the Middle jam. It's okay to get riled up a bit about things that are worth getting riled up for. It's how we react to it. And I believe that the most important way that we can continue to work to make change is through art, through music, through love and compassion towards each other on small, localized scales. If everybody made a decision to support a local business instead of going to fucking Walmart, we would change the world. Thank you all very much for your ear and your time. Love to all of you. Deep from my heart. Keep making it. Thank you once again for your ear and your time. Art for Truth.